Hello, I'm Regina with AG Designs. So this is part 2 for the Sincerely Jen pattern, which is called the Moondance Notepad pattern, where we'll actually now go ahead and trace out the pattern on our fabric and prepare to cut it. So I previously stated that I wanted to make a pink one, right? So then I thought about it. I was like, it might get dirty easily. So I'm just going to make a dark colored one. So I have some black fabric here that I want to use. And I'm going to cut my pattern out on this. So you want to make sure that you, like I said, you have all your pattern pieces taped together. So you have your long piece of what you need to cut out. With this pattern, nothing is being folded, so the fabric is not being folded to where you have to cut on the fold. It is a simple trace and cut. I have here, I just grabbed 2 white chalk pencils, right, so that I can trace with this since the fabric backing is black. Normally, I will trace, like I said, with my material, if it's a light color or if it's vinyl that has a white backing, I normally trace with pen so that I can see it better when it's time to cut. Or I'll use colored chalk like pink or blue, something of that sort, so that I can actually see it and cut. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and cut this pattern out. So it's not that many pieces to cut from the actual material. So you have some pieces that you do need to cut material for, and some pieces that you actually need to cut your stabilizer for, right? So for a stabilizer with this particular pattern, we're going to use Decaville Heavy. And right now there's 2 pieces to the pattern that you'll have to cut with Decaville Heavy. You'll actually end up cutting 2 of these sizes and then 1 of this strip for Decaville, using Decaville Heavy. Everything else you will cut with your actual material. You can use various material colors, so if you want to make a 2-toned one, you can. I'm just going to make this one all black. So you'll have your exterior piece to the material. You gotta cut 2 pieces in this side for your lining, and that's gonna go on the inside of the actual notepad. You will have a little piece that you can actually put cards, a little card pocket. That'll be the same material, or you could do a different color, right? I could probably do a hot pink in this little piece, tan, white, whatever color, just to give it an accent. Then you have your angled pocket, which you'll be cutting. And so this too, you may want to cut in a different color, right? Just do 2-tone. And then you'll have a piece for your lining center. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to trace out my exterior. This is a 14 by 8 3/4 quarters. So let me move this down a little bit so you can see exactly what I do. And let's just bring it up just a little bit so you can see how I trace it. Okay, so I'm laying my pattern down, face down, okay? The reason that I do this is to get myself in the habit of making sure that I'm cutting the right, not only the right size, but this particular material has a pattern to it, right? So it has a little design on it. And depending upon some of these shapes, especially when it comes down to cutting your angled pocket, your material pattern should be facing you with this angled pocket. So I want to make sure that I cut it face down, so when I flip it over, the material is cut the right way. Okay, so just kind of get in the habit of cutting face down when you have pattern type material and you're cutting on the opposite side of your material, so the wrong side. You will see a lot on the patterns where they'll say WS in parentheses, capital WS. That means wrong side. which is the back of the actual fabric. Okay. Or it'll say RS, which is right side. So all I'm doing now is just tracing with my chalk pencil the outline of this pattern. Now, I like to hold my hand on the pattern to keep it down because I'll bring it in a little closer so you can see. You'll see where I've started tracing. My line may not be as straight, and I'll stop and trace again on top of that, right? Because I'm not holding my pattern down like I should. Now, I do have some pattern weights. I usually use the weights when I have a bigger sheet of fabric that's covering almost the entire table, just so it doesn't roll off the table or anything like that. So here it just gives more support. So I hold the pattern down so I don't cut more than what I need, right? Or trace more than what I need. So hopefully, and let's just come in a little bit more and down, you can see here where I have traced my pattern to cut out, okay? So what I'm going to do is, let's just go out a little bit more. Okay, now as I cut patterns, or trace them I should say, once I have traced one piece, I'll just go ahead and put it back in the folder or lay it face down. So I know I've already done that part, so I don't do it again. Now, I don't like to waste material. So when it has smaller pieces that you need to cut, like this is going to be the lining center, I'm going to use a piece up top here, right? Because otherwise it's just going to be extra that you may either throw away or store in a box for another use, right? So I don't like to waste fabric. So I'm just going to lay this here, and then I'm going to trace around it. Now I do have a box that when I finish cutting pieces of fabric, if I know that I could potentially use that little piece that's extra or that's left over on another project, I will use it. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to need to have like the little purse tabs at the end or a little zipper tab. So you can go to your little extra box of, you know, pieces of fabric that you don't have a full sheet of to be able to use the remnants, right? So we've done that one. This one is the card pocket. So I want to, again, not waste the fabric. So I'm going to move it down over here, and then I'll trace around this one. And again, these tracing pencils, like it's chalk, and they come in different colors. I've seen like a soft blue, like a baby blue, pink, and white. I don't know, there could be some other colors out there, but these are the main ones that I always purchase. I get these pencils off of Amazon. You can buy the long pencils out of the craft stores like Joann, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. They sell the bigger pencils. They're long, like a regular size pencil. But I like to buy in bulk, and you get a better deal, I think, on Amazon, right? So, but again, you can, you know, research and see what's best for you. All right, so now this piece that I'm going to trace now is the lining main piece. I have to trace 2 of these, okay? So, again, I'm going to just lay it face down. I'm matching it up to the outer that I've already traced and feeding off of this. So I'll just go ahead and trace this first one. Again, I'm holding my paper down so it's not flapping up, just to make sure that I'm tracing the right size. And then I'll move this down some so that you can see a little bit better. All right, and I'm going to have to cut 2 of these. So I'm going to just line this right up next to it and continue on tracing. I will say, if you know that you want to make a pattern, like I said, if it's going to be a purse or whatever you're gonna cut, I like to prep my things, right? So Normally, I would trace and cut my pattern one day or earlier in the day, and then the next day, I'll actually sew it. Because sometimes when you're cutting these patterns, it's so much that you have to cut, and then you have to always also prep the material too, right? Excuse me. What I mean by prepping is some of the things that you make, like again, I make purses, like handbags and wallets. A lot of those require stabilizer and or lining, right? So there's so many pieces to it. I like to just have everything ready to go when I'm ready to start sewing. So again, because it takes so much time to cut the material with the patterns and then fuse the stabilizer on it, right? If you have the fusible kind where you can iron it on the back and fuse it to the material, and or if you have to spray an adhesive, or if you're just using tape, like the double-sided tape to tape things down. It just takes a lot of time. So I like to prep ahead of time. But for this, it's something simple, quick, and easy. These are all the pieces to it. So it's not very many. And again, these two pieces that's left to cut, this is actually going to be stabilizer for both of these pieces to the pattern. So since I have already marked out everything that I have to cut, let me get my cutting scissors and we'll just go ahead and cut this out. Now, keep in mind that you should have separate scissors when it comes down to cutting. So you should have scissors strictly for cutting paper, and then scissors for cutting your material. You do not want to use paper or your material scissors to cut paper. Okay, so just make sure you have various scissors separated. So I keep all of my sewing scissors on the wall above my sewing machine. I keep my scissors that can cut adhesive vinyl, tape, or paper in a different area. Okay, just so that I don't damage my sewing scissors or make them dull. And sometimes when I'm trying to cut out material after I have marked it, I have still made mistakes where I don't cut directly on the line. And again, it's based upon my eyesight, right? So I try to cut on the line as best as I can. Just go very slow so that you're not cutting more than what you need, because everything has to match and balance out when you're sewing pieces together, so that your end result is accurate. But take your time. You should never feel rushed, and that's why I say prep. Prepping is the key. Just like if you were cooking, right? You want to prep certain items before you just go ahead and pull out all the pots and stuff and start to cook. You want to make sure you have all your ingredients ready, right? If you're cooking meat that has already been cleaned while washing it and letting it dry or what have you. So same thing with material. Prep. It actually helps you in the long run. Like I said, normally I like to prep a day in advance, or I might cut in the morning and prep it by putting the stabilizer on the back, and then later that evening I may sew it. There has been times where I just cut and prep, or I won't even say prep because I'm not prepping. I'll just go ahead and cut and put the stabilizer on the back of the lining and whatever material I'm using that requires additional stabilizer, and then start to sew right after that. It makes for a very long process, but if you're selling these items, this will actually help you with calculating the total amount of time that it takes so that you can actually price your items appropriately, right? because you want to make sure that, you know, you're accounting for all of your time when you're pricing out your products, so you don't shortchange yourself. So, all right, so I have cut the actual material. I have all of my pieces cut that I need to be, in order to be able to make this notepad holder. Now, the only thing left for me to do is to cut my stabilizer. So give me 1 second and I will get my stabilizer out and we'll cut those pieces. Here is my long piece this is my actual piece for the the notepad. Okay. And then again, like I said, there is a smaller version of 1-2 that's a junior size as well. All right, so give me just a second and let's get the stabilizer and we'll measure that out. Also, all right, so my stabilizer, my heavy for Decaville Heavy, comes on a roll. This is Pellon 526, I believe it is. Yeah, Decaville Pellon 526. I purchased this at Joann's. So you have your inside that's shiny. That's the fusible side. Okay, that's the side that you're going to put against your wrong side of your material and iron together so that it fuses to it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my 2 pieces of this. Okay, now this is on a roll. I've not seen it come flat. So this is where I'm going to actually use a pen to trace. Let me just get my pen and I'm going to trace that. I could probably use my colored chalk on here on the other side, but I'm just going to use the pen. So because this is actually going to be ironed onto the fabric, the back of the fabric, so nobody will see it. All right. So I'm just going to trace around here, and let me push my camera down some so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm holding this paper down and I'm just going around the pattern. Okay. And again, I don't like wasting, so I like to move it around to where I know I'm going to benefit and be able to use the rest of this material for another project and not have it cut all over the place, right? So I'm just moving this up some on top of what I've just cut so I get better usage out of the material and I'm not wasting so much. And of course, you know, and I will show you, because I'm using a pen, I'm also marking on this paper, right? So that's where your lamination will come in handy. If you don't like to see markings on your paper. So, you know, I was tracing, and as you can see, you know, I'm using a pink pen, so I have markings on this. I mean, it's okay, but for some, they may not like to see that. Okay, and then I just need a little piece at the top, which is perfect for what I've just cut. So for my stabilizer, so I'm just going to trace that, and then I can cut one sheet and then cut the little pieces off. Okay, so if I can get this to cooperate. Okay, so as you can see, I have a piece of stabilizer that's sized out at the bottom here. I have one piece right here, and then the next one right here. So what I'm going to do now is just take my scissors and cut it straight down where I've made the outside line, and then I can cut across and cut the pieces of what I truly need because they've already been marked. So as I mentioned before, you know, when I'm cutting or marking my patterns so that I can cut the material, I like to use pens or dark what do you call it, chalk, so that I can see it. Just be careful, as I mentioned before, when you're using colored pens, real pens, because if your material is light, that pen can go through, right? That ink could go through on the material, so just be very careful with that. And so this is an extra piece that, you know, I'll use later. So I still have my markings here because I've cut the outline. So now I just need to cut this 2 times and I'll have my pieces ready to be fused for the pattern, so we can start making this item. Okay. So for this one, like I said, this is a quick and easy pattern to make. As you can see, it's not much to it. So here are my 2 main stabilizers using Decaville Heavy. It is the Pelon 526. So these are the 2 pieces that I need for that. This is the Notepad stabilizer for the very top. So this will come, this will actually be behind the cut you make on the fabric for the notepad to be able to slide down into, okay? And then again, I have my material pieces cut. So I have my 2 lining pieces is what they call it, right? It's gonna go on the inside of the notepad holder. I have my little angle piece that is like a pocket. I have the little bottom pocket that's going to go on top of this piece here, okay? So that you can put business cards in it or whatever you like. And then this is going to go straight down the middle on the inside. So, and of course, the main outer piece, okay? So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and fuse my stabilizer to the back of the material pieces that requires it, and then get ready to actually put this together. And then we'll sew the little pieces that we have to sew, and then this will be made in no time. So thank you for taking the time to sit with me as I cut my material and my stabilizer out, and we'll be back to actually put this together to make it look like something. All right, see you in a few.